Hello, friends. Unwind tonight with bedtime stories crafted to soothe your mind and ease you into deep, tranquil rest, weaving history together. Uncover hidden truths behind famous historical figures, explore unsolved mysteries, and reflect on unforgettable past events, all by the glow of a flickering fire. Perfect for pre-sleep meditation, adult relaxation, or simply sleeping soundly. Let the gentle crackle of the fireplace and calming stories lull you into a peaceful slumber on a quiet night. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, drop a lovely like, comment, and ring the bell.
The Chili Queens of San Antonio, a plaza under the stars. In the late 1880s, Military Plaza in San Antonio, Texas, sparked to life each night. Stars twinkled above. Mexican-American women, known as the Chili Queens, set up their stalls. Simple wooden tables draped in bright cloths. Oil lanterns glowed, casting warmth on smiling faces. The air carried chili con carne, tamales, simmering beans. Laughter rang, guitars strummed, spoons clinked in iron pots. This wasn't just a market, it was a celebration, a heartbeat of culture and community. At the heart stood Maria Concepcion Garcia, Doña Maria, they called her. In her 40s, strong, with sharp eyes and a smile that welcomed all. Her family fled Mexico's unrest a decade ago, settled in San Antonio, seeking hope. After her husband died in a mining accident, Maria raised 3 children alone. She wasn't just a cook, she was a storyteller. Stirring chili, she shared tales of old Mexico. Her iron pot bubbled with stories as much as flavors. The plaza pulsed with life. By day, a hub for cattle and crops. By night, a festival. Soldiers from Fort Sam Houston strolled in, joking with local girls. Peddlers sold spices, fabrics, trinkets. But the Chili Queens were the stars. Their chili, bold and spicy. Tamales, wrapped tight in corn husks. Enchiladas, rich and warm. Everyone came, laborers, wealthy folks, all craving something real. Maria moved with ease in her stall. Her white embroidered apron swayed, dark curly hair tied back. She spoke Spanish, English, laughing with customers. "Sir, this chili will make you cry with joy," she'd say, grinning, "or your money back." Her warmth drew people in. Her food tasted like home, even for those who'd never seen Mexico. The plaza erased boundaries. Mexicans, Anglos, African Americans sat on wooden benches, shared plates, swapped stories. Mariachi players wandered, strumming soulful tunes. Children danced in corners, giggling. Sometimes adults joined, stumbling through lively rhythms. But challenges lingered. Some frowned at women working late, said their place was at home. Maria and the others pushed back. Their love for family, their pride in culture, kept them strong. Maria believed food spoke. Each spoonful of chili carried her ancestors' chiles, her mother's tamales, her hope for her children's future. In the plaza's noise and chaos, she felt free. Maria's beginnings. Maria was born in 1845 in a small village in Coahuila, Mexico. Her childhood smelled of roasted chiles, ground corn, cumin crushed by her grandmother's hands. They farmed, living simply but with love. In the 1860s, Mexico's Civil War pushed them north, to Texas, to safety. San Antonio wasn't easy. As Mexican immigrants, they faced prejudice. The city, new to the United States, wrestled with its identity. Maria's father worked as a ranch hand. Her mother sold tamales on the streets. As a teenager, Maria helped, learning recipes, charming customers with her smile. She married Juan Garcia, a young miner. They had 3 children, Carmen, Pedro, Sofia. Life felt full of promise. But in 1880, Juan died in a mine collapse. Maria, at 35, was alone. No steady income, 3 young children. She worked as a laundress, but the pay was small, the hours grueling. Then she heard of women selling food in Military Plaza. It wasn't new. Mexican women had sold food on San Antonio streets for years. But the plaza was growing, a place where women could earn a living with their skills. Maria took a chance. With her small savings, she bought a wooden table, set up her first stall. That first night, her heart raced. Would people like her food? Would they judge her? But as customers gathered, praising her chili, she knew she'd found her path. Her chili was family tradition: ground beef, ancho and guajillo chiles, a touch of garlic, cumin, served with handmade tortillas. Her tamales, soft and flavorful, burst with corn. Soon, people spoke of Doña Maria's chili like a treasure. It wasn't easy. The plaza was crowded, with dozens of women selling similar dishes. Maria had to shine, not just with food, but with heart. Make people feel like family, her mother taught her. So she learned names, asked about children. That warmth drew people in. Her food tasted like home, even for those who'd never seen Mexico. The spirit of the plaza. By 1885, San Antonio was a phenomenon. The city grew with immigrants, soldiers, tourists pouring in. The plaza drew them all. Cowboys passing through, families seeking fun. The chili queens with colorful stalls and tempting aromas were the heart. Maria wasn't alone. Carlota Ramirez, young and fiery, made bold chicken enchiladas. Josefina Torres, the tamale queen, wrapped perfect tamales. They competed, but they helped each other. Carlota carried Maria's heavy pots. Maria shared spices with Josefina. Together, they thrived. The plaza was a crossroads. Mexicans, Anglos, African Americans gathered. A bowl of chili, simple yet bold, spoke to everyone. Music wove it together. Mariachis played Cielito Lindo. Soldiers strummed guitars. Children danced. Adults joined, laughing through fast steps. But challenges came. Some frowned at women working late, said their place was at home. Maria and the others pushed back. Their love for family, their pride in culture, kept them strong. Maria believed food spoke. Each spoonful of chili carried her ancestors' chiles, her mother's tamales, her hope for her children's future. In the plaza's noise and chaos, she felt free. The gathering storm. By 1890, San Antonio was changing. Railroads brought tourists, investors. The plaza stayed a hub, but officials called it disorderly. Talk of moving the market grew. Maria felt the pressure. She worried for herself, for the other women. Carlota, saving for her brother's school. Josefina, dreaming of a house. One night, the chili queens met after closing. Maria led, sitting under a lantern's glow. "They can't take this plaza," she said firmly. "We're its heart." She proposed a union, a way to fight together. Carlota and Josefina nodded. They rallied the others. Maria's children were growing. Carmen, 16, helped at the stall. Pedro and Sofia studied in school. Maria wanted more for them. The plaza was her way to give it. New restaurants opened, offering modern Mexican food. Some customers drifted away. Maria knew she had to innovate. She introduced menudo, a soup of tripe, chiles, hominy, warm, hearty, perfect for chilly nights. Customers hesitated at first. One spoonful changed their minds. It became a hit. That's how Maria stayed strong, always finding ways to keep her food special.
Music wove magic into the plaza. In the 1890s, mariachi players lit up Military Plaza. Silver-studded suits gleamed, guitars strummed, violins sang. Among them was Juanito Martinez, a young man in his 20s. His soulful voice drew crowds to Maria's stall. Juanito, a Mexican immigrant, found his voice in the plaza. He played classics like La Paloma, but he also wrote his own songs, inspired by the Chili Queens. One night, he sang of Maria, the queen of the plaza, cooking with fire in her heart, his lyrics rang. Maria blushed, then laughed. "Thank you, Juanito," she said, smiling wide. The crowd cheered. His song became a favorite. Music was more than sound. It kept Mexican culture alive. Songs of love, loss, hope. They reminded folks of their roots. For Maria, each note carried home. It gave her strength on long nights. Not everyone welcomed the music. New Anglo residents grumbled. Too loud, they said, unruly. They pushed for a modern city. Maria saw the threat. The plaza's way of life hung in the balance. One night, a policeman approached. "Lower the music," he said, voice stern. Maria stood tall. "This plaza is our heart, sir," she replied calmly. "Silence the music, and you silence our souls." The officer paused, had no answer, walked away. Juanito played on. These small stands made the plaza shine. Carmen joins the plaza. By 1892, Carmen, Maria's eldest, stepped up. 18, strong, quick-witted, she mirrored her mother. But her dreams stretched further. She wanted to teach, yet the family needed the stall. "Mama, this is our place," Carmen said, wrapping tamales. "I want to be part of it." Maria's heart swelled with pride, but worry lingered. The plaza was tough. She dreamed of more for Carmen. Still, Carmen insisted. She charmed customers, added spicy green salsa made with fresh chiles. It was a hit. She even sang with Juanito, her voice bright, drawing bigger crowds. Carmen's spark lit up the stall, but not all welcomed it. Some older women whispered, jealous of her shine. Maria kept the peace. "We lift each other up," she'd say, "not pull each other down." New challenges. By the early 1900s, pressure grew. The city expanded. New buildings loomed around the plaza. Officials spoke of cleaning up, stricter rules, hygiene concerns. They called the stalls unsanitary. Maria and the Chili Queens fought back. They met with officials. Maria led, proposing solutions. Clean the plaza each night, pay small fees. The compromises were hard, but they kept the stalls alive. Maria faced personal battles too. Her son Pedro grew ill. Medical bills piled high. Maria worked till dawn. Carmen helped, but Maria felt guilt. Was she holding her daughter back? One night, under a plaza tree, Maria spoke. "You don't have to stay here forever. Go to school, be bigger." Carmen smiled. "Mama, I'm proud of this. I'll find my way." That moment was Maria's strength. The plaza wasn't just survival. It was a future. A night to remember. In 1905, San Antonio celebrated its centennial. The plaza glowed. Colored lights twinkled. Flags fluttered. Maria, Carlota, and Josefina planned a feast. Chili, tamales, enchiladas, Carmen's new grilled chicken tacos. The night roared with life. Thousands gathered, mariachis played, folk dances swirled, fireworks burst above. Maria's stall buzzed. Carmen served plates, sang with mariachi. Maria watched, heart full. The plaza wasn't just work. It was home, a place to unite. She thought of her mother, the one who taught her to cook. She wished she could see this. But pride surged. She was carrying the legacy. Carmen would take it further. Change on the horizon. By the late 1910s, pressure pressed harder. The city chased modernity. Officials saw the stalls as outdated. In 1910, new rules hit Maria. Higher fees, stricter hygiene standards. Maria, now in her 60s, felt the weight. Her back ached. She leaned on Carmen. Carmen took night classes, dreamed of teaching, but stayed loyal to the stall. The Mexican-American community was shifting too. The young, like Carmen, chased new paths: education, business. Maria felt pride.
Doña Maria's legacy. By 1920, Military Plaza's glow was fading. Indoor restaurants beckoned customers. New rules choked the Chili Queen's stalls. Maria, now weary, stepped back. Her daughter Carmen took the reins, ran the stall with fire. But soon, Carmen turned to teaching. A new chapter began. Maria's legacy didn't fade. Her chili, tamales, menudo, they shaped San Antonio. Restaurants echoed her recipes. Food festivals bloomed, celebrating Mexican-American roots. Even now, eateries boast Chili Queen heritage. Maria's flavors live on. In her final years, Maria rested in a small house, bought with Plaza earnings. Her courtyard hummed with stories. Grandchildren gathered, wide-eyed. She'd say, "Food is more than eating. It's life. It's love. It's a story." Maria passed in 1930, but her spirit lingered. In every bite, in every tale, San Antonio carried her mark. Carmen carries the torch. Carmen, in her 30s, burned bright. Her mother's passion flowed through her. By day, she taught children to read. By night, she lit up the plaza. Her stall drew crowds. Quesadillas stuffed with cheese and chilies sizzled. Her spicy green salsa sparked joy. Carmen learned from Maria, kept the old ways alive, added her own spark. She rallied the women, formed an informal union, guided new Chili Queens, shared tips to charm customers. Her laughter echoed. Her voice sang with Juanito's mariachi. The plaza pulsed with her energy. But change loomed. The city grew fast. Health rules tightened. By 1925, officials pushed stalls to indoor markets. Haymarket beckoned. Carmen resisted, held on to Military Plaza. The last to leave, yet she knew time was shifting. She closed the stall, turned to teaching, but Maria's legacy burned in her heart. Carmen wove her mother's recipes into lessons, taught students to make tamales, shared stories of the plaza, organized school festivals. Chili simmered, music played. She kept the spirit alive. The rise of tourists. In the 1920s, San Antonio shone brighter. Tourists flocked, drawn by the Chili Queen's fame. Newspapers called the plaza a treasure, a must-visit, they wrote. Visitors from New York, Chicago, tasted chili under starlit skies, marveled at tamales, danced to mariachi. Fame cut both ways. Crowds brought coin. Carmen's stall thrived. But officials saw chaos. Plans grew to make the plaza a park, to clear the stalls. Carmen fought back, penned petitions, gathered signatures. Chili Queens and loyal customers stood together. At City Council, Carmen spoke, her voice clear, her words sharp. She said, "The plaza isn't just food. It's where we gather, celebrate, remember who we are." Her passion stirred hearts, but change rolled on. By the late 1920s, most stalls moved indoors.
Carmen's heart ached, yet pride held firm. The Chili Queen's mark endured. Life after the plaza. Carmen poured her soul into teaching. Students adored her, loved her plaza tales. She brought tamales to class, taught history through food. She'd say, "This is how women like my mother built community." Eyes bright, her lessons sparked pride in young hearts. San Antonio evolved. Restaurants like La Fonda, Mi Tierra served chili, tamales, nodded to the Chili Queens. Carmen smiled at their menus, felt the plaza's echo. But nostalgia tugged. She missed the lanterns, the laughter, the nights under the stars. In the late 1930s, Carmen wrote memoirs, penned stories of Maria, of the plaza's vibrant nights. Her words painted the past, the women, the music, the food. She hoped her pages would keep the Chili Queens alive. The Anniversary Festival. In 1935, San Antonio honored the Chili Queens. Carmen, now in her 40s, led the charge. Invited old friends, Carlotta, Josefina. They set up stalls in Military Plaza, one night only. Lanterns glowed, flags danced in the breeze. Chili simmered, tamales steamed. Juanito's mariachi band played. Old songs filled the air. La Paloma, Maria's song. Carmen stood at Maria's stall, served chili, rich with memory. Thousands came, danced, laughed, ate. The plaza roared with life again. Carmen spoke to the crowd, voice steady, heart full. She said, "The Chili Queens were more than cooks. They were stories, strength, the heart of San Antonio." The crowd cheered. Eyes glistened. The night was a bridge to the past. Reviving tradition. By the 1940s, San Antonio saw the Chili Queen's worth. Fiesta San Antonio bloomed. Tributes to the Queens wove through it. Carmen, now retired, was a guest of honor. Shared recipes, told tales. Her voice carried Maria's spirit. The city preserved the plaza's story. Military Plaza was restored. A plaque rose, honoring the Chili Queens. Carmen touched it, felt her mother's presence. The real legacy lived in people, in recipes passed down, in stories shared. Global impact. By the 1950s, the Chili Queen's reach stretched far. Chili, tamales, now American staples. Restaurants nationwide claimed their recipes, cited the Queens. Carmen, in her 60s, traveled, spoke at food festivals, cooked chili, shared plaza stories, saw her mother's dishes touch hearts. Mexican-American culture shone. The Queen's food became a symbol of resilience, of pride. Carmen's heart swelled. Her mother's legacy crossed borders. Return to the plaza. In 1960, Carmen, now in her 70s, called the Queens together. A reunion in Military Plaza. Old women, their daughters, their granddaughters came. They shared stories, laughed, cried, remembered the old days. Carmen stood where Maria once did, her mother's stall. Her heart glowed with pride. The Chili Queens weren't just cooks. They were pioneers, women who carved a path,
built a community, defied the odds. Legacy in the generations. In the 1970s, Maria's grandchildren carried on. Sophia, the youngest, opened a restaurant, served family recipes. She said, "Every dish honors my grandmother." Pedro, now healthy, wrote a book, drew on Carmen's memoirs, told the Chili Queen's story. Schools used it. Kids learned their roots. The legacy grew. In every tamale, in every tale, Maria's spirit lived on. Modern San Antonio. By the 1980s, San Antonio sparkled, a modern city. Yet the Chili Queens endured. Fiesta San Antonio celebrated their food, their culture. Restaurants like Mi Tierra served chili, tamales, gave credit to the queens. Carmen shared stories, taught recipes to her grandchildren. She'd say, "The plaza was hope."
Shadows of the feast, the heart of flame. In a land cloaked in mist, where gnarled forests twisted through jagged valleys, the village of Eliara shone like a lighthouse against the relentless waves of time and oblivion. Named for a legendary heroine, Eliara was a sanctuary for those who'd survived ancient wars, its mysteries guarded like treasures waiting to be unearthed. At its heart burned a mighty hearth, the heart of flame, where every night the women gathered to create meals that nourished not just bodies, but souls, weaving generations together in an unbroken thread. In Eliara, food was more than sustenance. It was a sacred ritual, a living testament to resilience and unity against the perils lurking beyond the village's sturdy wooden walls. Celine, Eliara's fearless leader, carried the fierce spirit of a warrior queen, reminiscent of Boudica herself. Her long black hair cascaded like a river of ink, and her eyes blazed with a fire that could pierce a soul with a single glance. She wielded an ancient spear, carved from sacred oak and tipped with star-forged iron, a relic handed down from her mother and her mother's mother before her. Yet her true strength lay not in her weapon, but in her ability to unite her people around a shared table, where they broke black cornbread and savored wild root stew, simmered with herbs known only to Eliara's women. On a bone-chilling night, with the wind howling like a restless spirit outside the wooden huts, the women of Eliara gathered around the heart of flame. Celine stood at the center, ladling steaming stew into clay pots, the rich aroma of wild herbs and purple roots filling the air with warmth. Her daughters, Luna and Mira, worked beside her, chopping vegetables and stirring the great cauldron. Luna, the elder, was a wild-hearted dreamer, her eyes sparkling with visions of the world beyond the village. Mira, younger and quieter, preferred the company of elders, drinking in their tales of Eliara's days as a radiant bastion of wisdom and strength. "Mother, why do we cook every night, even when our bellies are full?" Mira asked, her small knife slicing through a purple root. Celine gazed at her daughter, her eyes catching the firelight's glow. "Food, Mira, is more than a meal. It's memory. It's a promise. When we share it, we remember who we are, and we vow never to let the darkness tear us apart." Luna, tossing logs into the flames, let out a restless sigh. "But food can't protect us from the beasts in the forest. The villagers whisper of shadows stirring at night, of strange cries echoing from the valley." Celine's lips curved into a knowing smile. But she didn't answer directly. Instead, she raised her hands as if summoning the heavens. then gripped her spear and planted it firmly before her. Food, Luna, is our first line of defense. It fuels our strength to stand tall. And if shadows come, we'll face them with full hearts and fearless spirits. A sudden, earth-shattering roar ripped through the night, as if the sky itself had split open. The women froze, hands hovering over pots and knives. The sound was a haunting mix of howling wind and the snarl of something alive, charging towards the village. Celine bolted to the door, spear in hand, with Luna and Mira close behind, their eyes wide with a blend of fear and wonder. Outside, in the moonlit darkness, stood war chariots. Not the wooden relics of their ancestors, but sleek black metal beasts, pulled by creatures like horses, their bodies clad in iron scales. Atop one chariot towered a man in shimmering armor, his face hidden behind a mask, his voice booming like a storm. "People of Eliara, we've come for what's ours. Your food, your grain, your secrets. Surrender, or your village will burn to ashes." A heavy silence fell. Then Celine stepped forward, her spear raised, her gaze as unyielding as stone. "If you want our food, you'll have to pry it from our hands. But hear this. Eliara's food is our soul, and our soul will never be taken." Chaos erupted. The chariot surged forward, but Celine stood unshaken. Her voice rang out like priestess summoning ancient forces, rallying the women. They hurled pots of scalding stew at the invaders, wielding their kitchen knives as fiercely as swords. Food became a weapon, and the fire meant for cooking blazed as a shield. Luna and Mira, though trembling, stood by their mother. Luna clutched a small axe, her eyes fierce with determination. Mira, gripping a basket of black corn, flung the hard grains into the enemy's faces, blinding them in the fray. The battle was a whirlwind of chaos and courage, where the village fought with everything they had: food, fire, and an unbreakable will. The secret of the black corn. When the dust settled after the first battle, the invaders retreated, but the village bore scars. Outer huts were charred, fields trampled, yet the heart of flame stood untouched, its ancient stones etched with runes that whispered of forgotten power. The food cooked on that hearth was no ordinary fare. The black corn, grown in hidden fields deep within the forest and watered by a sacred spring, held a secret known only to Eliara. Those who ate it not just gained physical strength, but clarity of mind and courage that burned like fire. Celine, keeper of this secret since childhood, gathered the villagers in the council hall, a stone chamber adorned with murals of women wielding spears and pots. Holding a handful of black corn, she spoke with quiet intensity. "The invaders know something of our power, but not its heart. Our food is our strength, but it's also our trust. If they steal it, Eliara will fall, and the world will bow to the Empire." The Empire, led by the masked General Dracone, was a ravenous force that had risen decades ago, seizing food, metals, and knowledge to feed its insatiable appetite.
Their sprawling cities built on the bones of ancient villages. But what drew them to Ilara wasn't just sustenance, it was the legend that the black corn could sway hearts and minds. Luna, her spirit ablaze, leaned forward. "Mother, if the black corn is our strength, why not wield it? We could grow more, build an army no one could defeat." Celine shook her head gently. "Power isn't in numbers, Luna. It's in unity. The black corn ties us to the land, to our ancestors. If we misuse it, its magic will fade." Mira, who had been listening in silence, raised her hand timidly. "What if we shared the secret? We could teach other villages to grow it, to stand with us against the Empire." Celine paused, struck by Mira's words.
The idea was bold, yet perilous. Sharing the secret could invite betrayal, but it might also weave a web of allies strong enough to defy the Empire. Fangs of the Forest. In the nights that followed, the village lived on a knife's edge. The invaders hadn't fled, they lurked at the forest's edge, their tents like wolves circling prey. From a hilltop, Celine watched their movements, her instincts razor-sharp. Another attack was coming, and this time she would strike first. At dawn, Celine gathered Luna, Mira, and a handful of the village's boldest women. Their mission was daring, to slip into the forest and protect the secret fields where the black corn grew, hidden behind a labyrinth of caves guarded by the sacred spring, the Eye of the Mother. Legend said its waters held the spirits of ancestors, the source of the corn's unearthly power. "Luna, Mira, ready yourselves," Celine said, strapping on a leather cuirass. "This isn't just about saving the fields, it's about saving Ailara's soul." She carried her spear and a small pouch of ground black corn mixed with sacred herbs. Luna, armed with an axe and dagger, burned with restless energy. This was her moment to prove she was more than a dreamer, a warrior forged in her mother's image. Mira, carrying a satchel of roots and a notebook brimming with notes about the sacred spring, believed its secrets could shift the tides of fate. Under a veil of thick fog, the group slipped toward the forest. The trees whispered warnings, their branches creaking like ancient voices, and the ground pulsed faintly beneath their feet. As they neared the cave's entrance, a chilling sound echoed, a blend of heavy breathing and the scrape of metal. Imperial guards in black armor stood watch, as if they sensed the field's hidden power. Celine signaled her group to crouch behind jagged rocks. "They got here first," she whispered, her eyes narrowing like a hawk's. "But they won't take what's ours." In a fluid motion, Celine opened her pouch and scattered the ground black corn into the air, her voice rising in a chant that seemed to summon the ancestors themselves. The dark dust swirled, thickening into a choking fog that enveloped the cave. The guards coughed and stumbled, their eyes burning from the strange powder. Seizing the moment, Celine's group darted past, racing into the cave's depths. Inside, the sacred spring glowed with a soft blue light, its waters rippling as if alive. Around it stretched fields of black corn, their dark stalks swaying like a midnight sea, each cob gleaming like polished obsidian. But the sight was marred. Heavy footprints scarred the soil, and severed roots lay scattered, as if someone had tried to plunder the crop. "They've been here," Luna said, pointing to the trampled ground, "but they haven't found the spring yet." Mira, studying the sacred spring, noticed something extraordinary. The stones encircling it bore carvings different from those at the Heart of Flame. These told an older tale, of Ailara I, a woman who gave her life to shield the spring from ancient invaders. The etchings revealed a ritual, an offering of food to renew the spring's mystic power. "Mother, we must offer something to the spring," Mira said, pointing to the carvings. "Without it, the black corn might lose its strength." Celine nodded, her face tacked, but the distant rumble of war chariots sharpened her resolve. "Luna, Mira, help the women gather the cobs. We take what we can and get back to the village before they reach us." Before she could finish, a blaze of red light erupted at the cave's entrance. Drakon himself stood atop his war chariot, surrounded by soldiers in black armor. His mask gleamed under the torchlight, his eyes, the only visible part of his face, burning with ravenous hunger. "Drakon, Lady of Ailara," he growled, his voice like iron scraping stone. "I've come for what's mine. The black corn will feed my empire, and your village will bow." Celine raised her spear, standing before the spring like a guardian of legend. "You'll take nothing, Drakon. This land, this food is our soul, and Ailara's soul cannot be broken." A fierce battle erupted inside the cave. The women fought with everything they had,
Knives, axes, even sacks of corn hurled like grenades, kicking up clouds of black dust that blinded the soldiers. Luna, moving like a panther, struck one of the iron-scaled horses, making Dracon's chariot lurch. Meanwhile, Mira raced to the spring, clutching cobs and roots, whispering the ancient ritual she'd gleaned from the carvings. As Mira placed the cobs into the spring's glowing waters, a miracle unfolded. The waters flared with a brilliant blue light, and voices rose, chanting from another realm. The black corn in the fields surged upward, growing at an unnatural pace, as if the earth itself answered the ritual's call. The soldiers stumbled back, awestruck, while a wave of strength flooded through Ilara's women. "You did it, Mira!" Selene shouted, thrusting Dracon back with her spear. "The spring fights with us now." Dracon, unyielding, raised a hand to rally his soldiers. The chariots charged again, but the women, empowered by the spring's magic, were unstoppable. Their strikes hit harder, their movements swifter, as if ancestral spirits fought beside them.
The Table of Freedom. After the cave battle, Selene and her women returned to the village, carrying the precious black corn. The village was battered, huts charred, fields torn, but the heart of flame burned bright, a beacon of hope. Selene gathered the villagers not to fight, but to feast. The food that had been their weapon in battle would now be their bridge to victory. That night, the village prepared a grand feast. Clay pots brimmed with fragrant root stew, and stacks of black cornbread lined the tables. Ancient songs filled the air, and every villager who ate felt the ancestor strength flow through them. Luna and Mira, heroes of the cave, stood at the heart of the celebration, serving food to all. Yet Selene knew the fight was far from over. Dracon and his empire still loomed, hungry for Ilara's secret. As the villagers ate, Selene planned. Mira's idea of sharing the black corn with other villages sparked a vision, an alliance, an army bound by food and purpose, strong enough to defy the empire. The Sisters' Path. In the days that followed, Luna and Mira set out on a perilous journey through valleys and forests to rally neighboring villages. Their mission was deceptively simple: convince others to join Ilara's alliance and share the secret of the black corn. Luna carried a sack of seeds tied tightly around her waist, while Mira clutched her notebook filled with notes on the spring's rituals and carvings. They were two sides of hope. Luna, a blazing fire, fearless of danger. Mira, a quiet spirit carrying ancestral wisdom. The journey was brutal. The forests teemed with perils, wolves with glowing eyes, swamps that devoured travelers, and shadowy figures lurking among the trees. Luna, wielding her axe like a shield, led with bold confidence. One night, as they rested by a small fire, Mira pulled a loaf of black corn bread from her satchel, its earthy, herbal scent warming the air. "How can something as simple as bread hold such power?" Luna asked, biting into the loaf, feeling a surge of energy ignite her spirit. Mira smiled, flipping through her notebook under the firelight. "Because it's not just bread, Luna. It's our ancestors' memory, their strength woven into us. When we eat it, we become one with them." The next day they reached Vidra, a struggling village on the banks of a frozen river. Its people were starving, their fields ravaged by invaders. The villagers eyed Luna and Mira with suspicion. "Why should we trust you?" demanded Kale, their weary leader, his voice heavy with despair. "The Empire took everything, and you bring empty promises?" Luna bristled, but Mira's gentle touch stayed her. Stepping forward, Mira offered Kale a loaf of black corn bread. "This is no empty promise," she said. "Eat and feel the strength. Then listen to us." Kale hesitated, then broke the loaf among his people. With each bite, their eyes lit up, as if a spark had reignited their hope. "What is this?" Cale gasped, his voice stronger. "I haven't felt this alive in years." Mira shared the tale of the black corn, the sacred spring, and Elara's rituals. She spoke of food as a bond to unite villages against the Empire. Luna, watching quietly, added, "But you must fight with us. The corn's strength is nothing without courage." After a heated debate, Cale agreed to join the alliance. Mira handed over seeds and topped the rituals for planting, her voice steady with purpose. But before the sisters departed, Cale issued a grim warning. "Beware Thalos. They trust no one and betrayed the last who offered help." Undeterred, Luna and Mira pressed on to Thalos, a fortified village ringed by towering stone walls. Its people hardened by war, but fiercely insular. At the gates, a guard in bone-crafted armor challenged them gruffly. "Who are you? Why come to Thalos?" Luna, ready to fight if needed, answered with bold defiance. "We're from Elara, and we bring a gift to change your fate." She held up the sack of seeds, but the guard scoffed. "Seeds? Thalos stands alone and needs no one." Mira, with her quiet wisdom, stepped forward. "It's not just food, it's power. Let us enter, and we'll prove it." After tense negotiations, the sisters were admitted. Inside, they faced Cirrus, Thalos's leader, a battle-scarred warrior with eyes heavy with the scars of old wars. Her sword bore carvings like those at the sacred spring. "Why should I trust you?" Cirrus asked, eyeing the seeds with suspicion. "The Empire deceived us once, and we paid dearly." Mira noticed the symbols on Cirrus's sword. "You know the spring's secret, don't you?" she asked, making Cirrus freeze. "How do you know this?" Cirrus demanded, her voice trembling. "Because we're from Elara, and we know the story of Elara the First. Your grandmother, wasn't she?"
Mira's words struck deep. Elara the First, Ceres's grandmother, had sacrificed herself to protect the spring centuries ago. Ceres, believing its secret lost, initially refused the sisters' offer, but Luna's boldness turned the tide. Mira prepared a stew from black corn and herbs, inviting Ceres to taste it. When Ceres drank, she felt a surge of her grandmother's strength. Tears welled in her eyes. "This is her power. How did you do this?" Mira explained the spring's enduring magic, and Luna added, "The Empire is coming. If we don't stand together, we'll all fall." After a night of fierce debate, Ceres joined the alliance, but her warning chilled the sisters. "Dracon is no mere general. He was once one of us." Betrayal of the ancestors. Ceres's revelation stunned Luna and Mira. Dracon, once Elias of Elara, had been a gifted youth, banished for reasons lost to time. His betrayal fueled his hunger for the black corn's power, making him a formidable foe. Dracon, once Elias, had sought to harness the spring's power for his own ambitions. He believed the black corn could transform Elara into an empire, but his reckless misuse of the sacred rituals caused patches of the fields to wither. In exile, he vowed to return and claim the spring for himself. If Dracon knows the spring's secret, why hasn't he destroyed it? Luna asked, her grip tightening on her axe. "He can't," Ceres answered, her voice heavy with old pain. "The spring is guarded by ancestral power. But there's a dark ritual, one that can corrupt its waters. If Dracon completes it, the black corn will lose its strength, and Elara will crumble." Luna and Mira returned to Elara, carrying the weight of their new alliance with Vera and Thalos, but also Ceres's chilling warning. When they shared Dracon's past with Selene, her face darkened, as if a shadow from long ago had resurfaced. "Elias," she whispered, the name like a ghost on her lips. "He was my brother." The village reeled at Selene's revelation. She and Elias had grown up as children of Elara, but their paths diverged. While Celine devoted herself to protecting the village, Elias chased power at any cost. "He's no longer my brother," Celine declared, her voice resolute. "He's Dracon now, and we must face him." The village braced for the final battle. Warriors from allied villages, Vera, Thalas, and others, arrived in Alara, each carrying loaves of black cornbread as a symbol of unity. Mira, now a keeper of knowledge, trained villagers in the spring's rituals, while Luna drilled warriors in combat, her axe flashing with purpose. But Dracon was scheming. He'd unearthed a dark ritual in ancient scrolls, one that required the blood of the spring's guardian, Celine herself, to corrupt its waters. He knew that to reach the spring, he must first destroy Ilara. Shadows of the battle. On a moonless night, the Empire's armies gathered at the Lara's borders. Dracon's war chariots, forged from iron black, formed a wall of death, drawn by iron-scaled horses. Dracon stood at the forefront, his mask glinting in the torchlight, his voice shaking the earth. "Ilara, your end is here. Surrender the spring, or I'll burn everything to ash." Inside the village, Celine stood at the heart of flame, surrounded by warriors from Vera, Thalas, and beyond. Luna was at her right, her axe pulsing with energy, and Mira at her left, clutching her notebook and a sack of black corn. The villagers had devised a daring plan, to wield food as their ultimate weapon. Pots brimmed with narcotic stew, brewed from black corn and hallucinogenic herbs, while loaves of bread were coated with ground corn powder that turned into blinding dust when thrown. "If Dracon wants our food, we'll make him taste it our way," Celine declared, raising her spear with unyielding resolve. "Luna, lead the warriors to the borders. Mira, prepare the final ritual for the spring. Today, we save Ilara or die trying." The battle erupted like a thunderstorm tearing through the night. The Empire's chariots charged, but the allied warriors were ready. Luna led a daring assault, hurling sacks of ground black corn that burst into clouds of choking dust, blinding the soldiers. Warriors from Vera and Thalas flung pots of narcotic stew at the iron-scaled horses, making them stagger and lose control. But Dracon had his own dark strategy. He brought masked priests, clutching ancient scrolls and vessels of dark red liquid. They chanted sinister incantations, advancing toward the cave that housed the sacred spring. Their intent was clear: to perform the dark ritual that would corrupt the spring's waters, stripping the black corn of its power. Mira, watching from a distance, saw the danger. She raced to the cave, clutching her notebook, whispering the ancient ritual she'd learned from the carvings. Reaching the spring, she saw the priests pouring the red liquid into the waters. The spring darkened as if dying. Without hesitation, she threw herself toward the spring, holding a handful of black corn, chanting the ritual with all her strength. The waters flared again, a radiant blue, as if the ancestors themselves answered her call. At that moment, Celine reached the cave, coming face to face with Dracon. His mask had fallen, revealing Elias, her brother, a ghost she thought lost forever. "Elias, stop!" Celine pleaded, her voice trembling with hope. "There's still time to come back to Ilara."
Draken's laugh was bitter, laced with pain. "Ilara cast me out, Celine. Now I'll take it all." He raised his sword and lunged. Their duel was legendary. Celine's spear danced like lightning, fueled by the black corn's power, while Draken struck with the force of iron. In a critical moment, Luna arrived at the cave and hurled a sack of ground corn into Draken's face, blinding him. Seizing the chance, Celine drove her spear into his shoulder, forcing him to his knees. "You're no longer Elias," Celine said, standing over him, her voice steady but heavy with sorrow. "But I won't kill you. Go back to your empire and tell them Ilara will never fall." Wounded and defeated, Draken retreated with his soldiers. Thanks to Mira's ritual, the spring's waters were purified, glowing brighter than ever. But the victory came at a cost. Parts of the village lay in ruins, and many warriors were injured. Rebuilding. In the days that followed, Ilara began to heal. Burned huts were rebuilt, fields replanted with black corn seeds. Luna led construction teams, her strength unwavering, while Mira taught villagers new rituals to honor the spring. The alliance with Vera, Thalas, and other villages proved its strength, with aid pouring in, food, tools, and warriors to help rebuild. On the night of the victory celebration, Ilara held a grand feast, joined by representatives from all allied villages. Tables groaned under stacks of black corn bread, bowls of herb-scented stew, and pitchers of sacred spring water. Songs of the ancestors filled the air, and every villager who ate felt their unbreakable bond. Selene stood at the village's heart, spear in hand, gazing at her people. "We fought together, ate together," she said, her voice stirring souls. "Food is our strength, but also our promise. As long as the heart of flame burns, Ilara will stand tall." Luna and Mira, seated among the villagers, shared a knowing glance. They had proven themselves, Luna as a warrior, Mira as a keeper of wisdom. But whispers of a new threat in the north hinted that their journey was far from over. A new horizon. On a sunlit morning, Luna and Mira stood on a hill overlooking Ilara. The village buzzed with life, but their eyes were fixed on the horizon. Luna gripped her axe, while Mira held her notebook, now a chronicle of Ilara's history and rituals. "Do you think Draken will come back?" Luna asked, scanning the forest. Mira shook her head. "Maybe, but we're stronger now. We have the alliance, the spring, the food, and most importantly, each other." Luna grinned, clapping a hand on her sister's shoulder. "So, where to next?" "The north," Mira replied. "There are tales of another spring, older than ours. If we find it, we can unite more villages." They knew the road ahead would be long and perilous, but their hearts brimmed with hope. With sacks of black corn and Ilara's spirit in their souls, they set out, leaving behind a village stronger than ever. Winds of the North. Luna and Mira's journey north began under a sky heavy with clouds, the air thick with the scent of snow and pine. The northern lands were stark, unlike Ilara's lush forests, barren expanses of jagged rocks and ice-draped hills. Traders from Vera had spoken of an ancient spring called the Blood of the Earth, said to be more powerful than Ilara's, but cursed, guarded by invincible beasts and wrathful spirits. Luna led the way, her axe strapped to her back, eyes scanning for threats. Mira followed, clutching her notebook, jotting notes on strange plants, silver-leafed herbs and glowing roots. They carried a sack of black corn, sharing a small loaf each night to draw strength. On the fourth day, they reached a narrow valley where the air pulsed with an eerie hum, as if the earth itself breathed. Ancient carvings lined the rocks, depicting massive creatures with wings and claws encircling a glowing spring. "This is it," Mira whispered, reading the carvings, but they warn of the spring's guardian, the ice shadow. Before Luna could respond, the ground shook. From the mist emerged a colossal creature, its body clad in icy scales, its eyes glowing pale blue. The ice shadow, the spring's guardian, moved with terrifying speed. Luna attacked, her axe striking true, but the blows bounced off its scales like steel. "Mira, do something!" Luna shouted, dodging a massive claw. Mira, flipping through her notebook, recalled a ritual from Ilara's carvings. She grabbed the sack of black corn, scattering the grains on the ground, chanting ancient words. The grains glowed, summoning the distant spring's power. A cloud of black dust rose, forming ghostly shapes, ancestral spirits that encircled the ice shadow. The spirits sang haunting hymns, making the creature recoil as if gripped by fear. Luna seized the moment, leaping forward and driving her axe into the ice shadow's eye. The ice shadow screamed, then collapsed, its body shattering into shards of ice. "We did it," Luna panted. "But the spring, we have to find it." The sisters pressed on to the valley's heart, where a small spring glowed crimson, its waters warm against the surrounding cold. Carvings warned of a curse. Drinking without the proper ritual would drive one mad. Mira, ever cautious, chose not to touch the waters. Instead, she prepared a stew from black corn and the silver herbs she'd gathered, offering it to the spring. As she poured the stew into the waters, the spring trembled and a vision appeared. A woman in a crimson robe, her eyes shining like stars. "I am Sira, keeper of the blood of the earth. You've proven your worth by honoring the old ways. Take my blessing and unite the lands against the darkness." But the spring's power will only be granted to those who unite the entire land. "How do we do that?" Mira asked, her voice steady but filled with wonder. "Seek the forgotten songs," Sira answered, her starry eyes piercing the mist. "In the distant mountains lies a temple holding words of power. Succeed, and the black corn will become a symbol for the world." The vision faded, leaving the sisters in a profound silence. They knew this mission was their greatest yet, but with black corn in their hands and Ilara's strength in their hearts, they were ready. Ilara's legacy. Luna and Mira returned to Ilara, carrying tales of the north and the promise of the new spring. The village had flourished, with new fields of black corn stretching across the valleys. Allied villages, Vera, Thalas, and others, sent envoys regularly, trading food and knowledge, making Ilara the heart of a growing alliance. On a special night, Celine hosted a feast to celebrate her daughter's return. Tables overflowed with new dishes inspired by their journey: black corn bread laced with northern silver herbs, and root stew infused with sacred spring water. Villagers sang ancestral hymns, and the heart of flame burned brighter than ever. Celine stood at the village's heart, spear in hand, addressing the crowd. "We started as a small village, but now we're a nation," she said, her voice stirring hearts. "Food united us, and the black corn gave us strength. But the future lies with Luna and Mira, who will carry our legacy to the world." Luna among the warriors raised her axe. "We'll find the forgotten songs in the mountains. Ilara won't just be a village, it'll be a beacon of hope." Mira, holding her book, added, "And we'll carry our rituals and food. Every village will become part of Ilara, every table a new heart of flame." That night, the villagers pledged to support the sisters' mission. But whispers spoke of a new threat in the mountains: the followers of darkness, a mysterious force seeking the forgotten songs to destroy the sacred springs and end the black corn's power forever. At dawn, Luna and Mira prepared for their new journey. With sacks of black corn and hearts full of resolution, they set out, backed by a village that was no longer just a haven, but a lighthouse of hope in a world facing new shadows. With every step, they vowed that Ilara's spirit of food, fire, and unity would endure forever.
Cowboy Pie, Joshua's Tale at the Bisbee Festival. The wind swept through Bisbee, Texas in the summer of 1889. It carried a sweet whisper, the scent of apples, ripe and warm. This little town, nestled in the wide plains, thrummed with life. Dirt roads, shaded by gnarled oaks, rang with the clatter of wagons. Kids laughed, chasing stray chickens. The air hummed with harvest smells, wheat, corn, apples. But this summer held something more, the Bisbee Pie Festival. A humble idea, started by farmers 20 years back, now a grand gathering. Cowboys, merchants, families, even drifters, they all came, drawn by the promise of pie. Bisbee was small, a few hundred souls, but its heart stretched as far as the horizon. Wooden houses circled the main square. Miss Margaret's general store stood tall, buzzing with talk. Who'd bake apple this year? Who'd choose cherry? Who'd try something bold like pecan with honey? One name kept rising above the chatter: Joshua Wilkins. A man new to the festival stage, a man with a story to tell. Joshua stood out. In his 40s, tall and lean, his skin bore the mark of sunlit trails. His eyes held tales he rarely shared. A former cowboy, freed from slavery after the Civil War, he'd wandered ranches and cattle drives. He could tame a wild horse, light a fire in the wild. But his real magic, cooking. His mama, a legend in a Louisiana plantation kitchen, taught him to transform simple ingredients. Flour, butter, apples, they became dishes that silenced a room. One morning, outside his weathered cabin, Joshua was ready. A basket of red apples, picked from an old orchard, sat on his table. A sack of flour from Miss Margaret's store. A slab of butter wrapped tight. He set his dusty leather hat on his head. That hat, faded and worn, told of years under the sun. "All right, Pie," he grinned wide, "time to shine." Whispers swirled in town. A freedman, a cowboy, entering a contest ruled by farmers and town women. Eyebrows raised, doubts lingered. But Joshua wasn't chasing a prize. He wanted to leave a mark, to share a piece of his soul. In his cabin, his hands worked like magic. He kneaded dough, folding in cold butter till it was smooth as silk. Apples fell under his knife, sliced thin and even. A sprinkle of cinnamon bought from a peddler long ago. A dash of lemon juice for a bright zing. As he worked, he hummed an old tune, his mama's song, hope, freedom. It filled the cabin, giving life to his pie. Outside, the wind carried the apple scent toward town, a quiet promise of something special. Bisbee buzzed with joyful chaos. Miss Harriet, the mayor's wife, strode through the square. Her blue dress flowed, her parasol high. She checked the wooden stage, decked with bright flags. A long table, covered in white embroidered cloth, waited for the pies. "No mistakes this year," she shouted, pointing at a crooked banner. In one corner, the theater troupe practiced. Louisa, young and vibrant, sang with a voice like bells. Her song, written by the town poet, spoke of pies that bind hearts. Beatrice, her friend, added stomps and claps. Their energy was the festival's pulse. Folks stopped to listen, caught in the moment. Other bakers were busy too. Miss Elizabeth, pie queen for 3 years, crafted her cherry pie. Its flaky crust, crisp and golden, held a whispered secret. Magic, some said. She sliced cherries, her eyes sharp. "Joshua," she told her daughter, "let's see if he can keep up." Mr. Thomas, the town baker, bet on pumpkin. He dreamed big, muttering as he mixed spices from New Orleans. "This time, I'll take the crown." Even kids joined in. Little Sarah, Miss Margaret's girl, made a mini apple pie. Too much sugar, more candy than pie. "The judges'll love it," she chirped, beaming. Joshua's name sparked the most talk. At the saloon, cowboys swapped stories. "Fancy cinnamon from New Orleans," one claimed. "No, it's lemon juice," another said. "It's a secret," a third laughed, glass raised. Joshua ignored the rumors. In his cabin, he pulled his pie out of the oven. Its aroma wrapped the room, warm and inviting, ready to share. Festival day dawned bright. The square was alive. Kids played tag. Women swapped tales. Men argued over cattle prices. Barbecue smoke mixed with pie scents, teasing hungry stomachs. Joshua wore a clean white shirt, black suspenders, and his trusty hat. He carried his pie, wrapped in his mama's embroidered cloth. He walked slowly, savoring the moment. This pie wasn't just food. It was his story, shared with the world. At the square, eyes turned. A brief hush fell. Then chatter returned. Joshua placed his pie among the others. It looked simple. Golden crust, small steam vents, apples peeking through. No fancy flowers like Elizabeth's, no bright colors like Thomas's. But when he lifted the cloth, the smell of apples, cinnamon, and butter drifted out. It drew folks closer, like a gentle spell. The contest began. 3 judges, Miss Harriet, Father James the preacher, and Mr. Thomas, not tasting his own pie, sat at a small table. They tasted each pie, scribbling notes, sharing looks. Elizabeth watched, confident her crown was safe. But when the judges reached Joshua's pie, something changed. Father James took a bite. He paused, eyes closed, savoring. Harriet tasted hers, hand on her chest. "My Lord," she whispered, "this is something else." The crowd stirred, curious. Louisa and Beatrice stopped singing to watch. "What's in it?" a man muttered. "Magic, maybe," a woman giggled. Hours passed, tasting, debating. Harriet took the stage, the crowd growing. Folks stood on tiptoes, eager. Louisa and Beatrice clapped wildly. "This year's winner," she said, pausing for drama. "Joshua Wilkins!" Cheers exploded. Whoops of joy. A few stunned gasps. Joshua walked to the stage, calm, smiling humbly. He held his hat, eyes shining with a quiet tear. "Thank y'all," he said softly. "This pie's for my mama." That moment was more than a win. It was a rare, golden second. Joshua felt he belonged, not a stranger, but one of Bisbee's own. His pie brought people together. No differences mattered, no colors, no pasts, no wars, just pie, laughter, open hearts. That night a bonfire lit the square. Banjos and fiddles played, sparking dances. Louisa and Beatrice led, their laughter bright. Joshua sat by the fire, sharing tales, his cowboy days, his mama's lessons, the hope he held through dark times. Folks lined up for his pie. Each slice brought a smile, like a memory of joy. Even Elizabeth came, her pride softened. "Good pie, Joshua," she said, smiling, "but watch out for me next year." The pie's legacy. Joshua's pie became a legend in Bisbee. It wasn't just the taste, it was the story. The recipe lived on, passed through families. Some added extra cinnamon, others tried honey or peaches, but Joshua's original stood unmatched. Years later, Joshua left for the West. Word was he settled in New Mexico, running a diner with his mama's recipes. But his mark stayed in Bisbee. Each festival began with his story. How a simple man with a simple pie changed hearts. Louisa, now a grandmother, told her grandkids the tale. Joshua's pie was more than food. It was life, hope, a moment that made us one.
Shadows of the past. Joshua's road to Bisbee wasn't just about a pie. It was carved by struggles. Years before the festival, he toiled on a Louisiana plantation, a young man, enslaved, under a scorching sun, picking cotton, planting corn, dreaming of freedom. His mama, Sarah, was his beacon. She worked in the plantation kitchen, cooking for the owning family. At night, when the world slept, she'd sneak Joshua in. Flour dusted their hands. Apples fell under her knife. Spices danced in the air. "Food's more than eaten, Joshua," she'd say, her voice soft. "It's your story. It's how you make folks feel." Those words clung to him, even after freedom came, even after a fever stole her away. In Bisbee, not everyone opened their arms. Some eyes carried doubt, a newcomer, a man who looked different. But Joshua was no stranger to hardship. Life had taught him to wait, to earn respect through deeds. So he entered the festival, not just to win, but to prove he belonged. Days before the festival, Joshua walked to the town market. He needed ingredients. Miss Margaret, the store owner, greeted him warmly. "Heard you're baking a pie, Joshua," she said, weighing flour. "Hope it's as good as folks say." He smiled. "Doing my best, ma'am." Those market trips built bridges. He met Louisa and Beatrice, always singing in the square. Louisa teased him about his recipe. "Family secret, Miss Louisa," he'd laugh. "You'll taste it in the pie." Their laughter warmed him. Bisbee was starting to feel like home. Not everyone was kind. At the saloon, Jim Crow, a farmer, scoffed. "A cowboy baking pies?" he laughed, voice loud. "Gotta see that to believe it." Joshua stayed quiet. Words didn't prove a thing, but a pie might. New friends. The day before the festival, Joshua wandered to the square. Tents rose, flags fluttered. Kids darted between stalls. Louisa and Beatrice sat under an oak, sipping cider. "Joshua," Louisa called, "come join us." Beatrice giggled, offering a cup. "Is your pie going to make the judges cry with joy?" Joshua chuckled. "Hope they make 'em smile." They talked for hours. Joshua shared cowboy tales. Louisa and Beatrice spoke of theater shows in dusty towns. Those moments felt like family. Bisbee was claiming him. That night, in his cabin, Joshua thought of tomorrow. The festival was more than a contest. It was a chance to show what he could do. For himself, for those who'd come after. He stoked the fire. His pie sat cooling, its golden crust perfect. Its aroma filled the cabin with warmth. But the real story wasn't the pie. It was what it carried. His mama's love. His hope. The big celebration. When Joshua's win was announced, the festival exploded into a party. A bonfire blazed, sparks flying to the stars. Music filled the air. Mr. Henry's banjo led the band. Louisa and Beatrice danced, pulling everyone in. Kids ran through the crowd, pie slices in sticky hands. Joshua sat by the fire. Folks came by, one after another. They congratulated him, asked about his recipe, shared their own stories. Miss Margaret held a slice of his pie. "This took me back to my grandma's kitchen," she said. "How'd you do it?" Joshua smiled. "Just followed my heart, ma'am." Even Jim Crow came late in the night. "Wasn't sure about you," he admitted, "but that pie earned its ribbon." He offered a handshake. A bridge built. That night, Bisbee felt different. The pie wasn't just food. It was hope, resilience, a shared dream. As the party faded, Joshua stayed in the square. He looked at the stars. He felt his mama watching, smiling down. The road ahead. After the festival, Joshua became a familiar face. Folks invited him over, asked for his recipe. He taught kids like Sarah, Miss Margaret's daughter, to knead dough, to slice apples. Those moments made him feel part of something bigger. But Bisbee wasn't his final stop. He dreamed of sharing his food with the world. In spring 1890, he headed to New Mexico. New opportunities waited. He packed his hat, his mama's recipe, and memories of Bisbee. In New Mexico, Joshua opened a diner. Sarah's Pie, he called it, for his mama. It was small, but travelers and cowboys loved it. His Bisbee pie was the star. He added cornbread, slow-cooked beans, a soup he said puts the soul back in you. A legend lives on. In Bisbee, Joshua's memory stayed strong. Each festival began with his story. Louisa, now a grandmother, told her grandkids. "Joshua put his heart in that pie," she'd say. "That's why it made us smile." Even now, in Bisbee's summer air, you might catch a whiff of apples and cinnamon. Ask a local. They'll grin. "That's Joshua's pie, stranger. Sit down. Let me tell you his story." His pie lives on. Not just a flavor, but hope, unity, in a small Texas town.